see Randall Rose signed up in favor of this bill. I don't see him in the room. Rama Islam. All right, Rama Islam signed up in favor of this bill. Lillian Kirby.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Thank you, representatives and chairman. My name is Lily Kirby. I also work at the George Wiley Center. So tonight, I guess I can just start with a brief story about somebody that I work with, and then I can talk a little bit about how this bill relates to climate initiatives, which is something that folks haven't touched on yet. Unless there's any further clarification needed, I think Camille hopefully addressed your concerns, sir, about about constituent investment, but if there's any further questions about that. Also, to your concern, Representative Solomon, about the PIP programs in other states, we actually worked with a Brown University class last year to do comparative research on PIP programs in all these other states. We'd be more than happy to provide that to you guys if you haven't already received it.
That'd be great if you could submit that to the clerk. He'll get it to the rest of the committee.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to echo that this program is something that we've worked with policy experts on, such as Diana Hernandez, as well as Mark Toney, as well as this comparative research with Brown University students. So I just wanted to begin, most of the folks that we work with, myself included, categorized as low income, I think of seniors that I work with on fixed income. As you guys probably know, seniors on fixed income are really getting like $700 to $800 a month, and that's supposed to meet everything. And then when you're faced with a utility bill that's like $350, that's 50% of your $700 you're supposed to make happen on a monthly income. So PIP is so helpful, because capping something at 6%, this person I'm thinking of who has $775 to make work throughout the month, that would make their bills just like less than $40, if I'm doing my math right, less than $50. And that is maybe still a burden, but it's at least more affordable than getting hit with these hundreds of dollars of bills every month. I live in a house, my apartment, my windows are really old, and not only do they like blow out during storms, but they're definitely not keeping the heat in. And that's just one person. But Rhode Island housing stock, especially for low-income people, can be pretty old. The history of redlining means that Black people and people of color in this state are living in houses that are, with poor heating quality, as well as older windows, just worse infrastructure, which makes these heating bills really high for no fault of anybody own. So I also, work in a restaurant. I'm a waitress, and many of my coworkers there, our income has been severely disrupted. That's just one industry, but right now, everyone is really, really struggling with income, as well as a lot of folks who come into the George Wiley Center. Rents are also being raised. Landlords are raising rents right now. Folks are getting SNAP benefits cut. So I'm just trying to paint a picture of this interlocking struggle where folks are having less access to income and far, far greater expenses. And that's on top of bills that are already really high. So then, to address what I mentioned about how this is related to climate initiatives, we all at the George Wiley Center support environmental justice. We support the transition to renewable energy, but we also know that transition, it might be expensive, and we really want to make sure that vulnerable low-income consumers are not the ones who are going to be facing the high cost burdens of that transition. And something like PIP fits in perfectly with the Green New Deal, with other climate initiatives, because it will cap folks' payments at a reasonable percentage of their bill, so that if this transition to renewable energy ends up being expensive, it's not these low-income consumers who are paying for it, you know what I mean? So PIP is just a really common sense legislation. There's tiered programs for other things, such as housing. Section 8, there's opportunities for folks to not pay more than 30% of their income on housing. So there really needs to be the same thing for utility payments. It's not realistic, because if you make $1,000 a month, $100 payment means a lot more to you than if you make $10,000 a month. You know what I mean? So this is a really progressive bill. And I think that's where I'll leave it, unless there's any questions. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Kindly.